Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, wherever you are. My name is Ayes, and welcome to my YouTube channel. Ever since Sifu was announced back on February 25th, 2021, my eyes and curiosity were set on it. The intriguing visuals, the way in which the process of aging is implemented in the game, and the absolutely stellar combat gave me vibes that combined Groundhog Day with John Wick. Although nobody expected the challenge that would accompany the game's release, it is safe to say that Sifu is one of the surprising darlings of 2022 as of the recording of this video. In today's video, we will discuss the various aspects that are normally a part of my critiques, and I will attempt to explain why Sifu, for a while, was my favorite game of 2022 and still may be by the end of the year. What makes it so special? Why do I love it? We will talk about the reasons, but I should make one specific statement before we begin. Even though I will cover the post-launch difficulty setting that was added to the game, the score will be primarily based on the game as it was displayed at launch. Be forewarned. Now, without further ado, let's review Sifu, which was released this year and played on the PlayStation 5. Story. Sifu's narrative has a surprisingly strong start. You take the role of the main antagonist, who infiltrates his former master's home in pursuit of a scroll that prevents him from dying. After a tragedy that is committed by your own hands, you pick a gender for the protagonist, age while experiencing the tutorial, and proceed on your quest for revenge. The general lore will play out as you expect, and it thankfully includes sub-villains that have unique personalities and backgrounds. The ending of the plot is quite indecisive, but I did not find any major faults with the game's direction. Visuals and audio design. The first part that I would like to praise about Sifu's presentation, which is my favorite aspect as well, is the fluidity of the animations. Whether you are interacting with the environments, performing defensive moves, or executing a beautiful string of attacks, the way in which the characters move is simply beautiful. I have not experienced a single dip in frame rate, regardless of how many enemies were on screen. In addition to the animations, the character models look slick, and the environments are not completely linear and include a nice array of details and routes towards your main destination. Speaking of which, every level is completely different, aesthetically speaking, than the rest of the stages. The first level places you in a seemingly run-down neighborhood that leads you to a forest, while the second level starts you off in a nightclub and ends in a place that looks like a fire temple. Sifu's visuals are great, and the same goes for the audio design. Every hit feels powerful, and the soundtrack is appropriate for every given situation. The voiceovers are nothing to write home about, but everything else about Sifu's presentation receives 2 thumbs up from me. Gameplay. You may recall that I referenced a certain item in the game's story, which prevents people from dying. Well, it was a white lie. Your main character possesses this item, and it brings him or her back to life if he or she dies. However, there's a catch. You get older every time you die, which will depend on the number of deaths. You always start the game at the age of 20, but the first death takes away 1 year, the second death takes away 2 years, so on and so forth. You become more powerful with age, but you also lose a chunk of your maximum health. It is an interesting system that will encourage you to think carefully and decide if you are willing to lose health and gain an increase in damage as a result. Overall, the gameplay pits you in 5 distinct levels. You are tasked with traversing the environments, defeat basic enemies, encountering sub-bosses on rare occasions, and defeating the main boss. You have the opportunity to spare your final foes, but it is probable that first-time players will strike them where they stand. As you fight your opponents, you can strike them, use hand-based weapons, block, parry, and dodge. All of these tools are accompanied by additional skills, which you must unlock several times for them to be permanent. It does not matter if you are at the beginning of the game or at the point where every skill is unlocked. These mechanics in the combat system are rewarding to the point where you do not mind if a boss beats you to a pulp or a group of enemies ambushes your unprepared character. The final part of the gameplay concerns your death. Every time you die, you age. Once you reach the 70s and meet your demise, the game is over, and you'll be brought back to the stage selection screen. At this point, you must ask yourself the following question. Is it worth replaying the stage where I died, or should I redo previous levels to reach my current point at a younger age? If you reach the final stage when you are 65 years old, I will be very impressed if, as a first timer, you beat the game. The combat system is good enough to warrant retries and redos, so I'm not going to hold the sense of repetition against the game. As long as you can withstand its challenges, Sifu's gameplay will pull you back into its claws again and again until a game with a similar effect comes along. We will continue with the next portion of the review shortly, but first I would like to focus on the added difficulty setting that was implemented through a patch. The easy mode is called Student. Here the enemies' attacks are softer and they are also less aggressive. If you're in a room that is filled with enemies, the probability that all of them will attack you at once does not happen often. On the other side of the spectrum, you have Master Mode. If you think that the normal difficulty was bad, you are in for a treat with the Hard Mode. Enemies hit harder, attack faster, and are more aggressive. You must keep your distance and carefully strategize who to attack when you are in an area that is filled to the brim with enemies. As far as bosses are concerned, they have additional attack patterns. I managed to reach a point where the first boss did not lay a finger on me on normal mode. I died several times during his first phase on Master Mode. I am very glad that the game's developers added these difficulty options. Now, more people can play a game that is absolutely wonderful. Fun factor: despite the moments of frustration with the third boss of the game, Sifu offers an experience that very few games can provide. With that being said, you must understand that you are diving into an action game that cannot be played like Dynasty Warriors while mashing buttons. Fortunately, the difficulty scaling and the ability to replay levels that include shortcuts and multiple routes allow you to take your time, learn the patterns, and feel like a powerful martial artist by the time you see the narrative's conclusion. Hopefully, the future free added content will only extend the amount of fun that you will have while playing Sifu. Impressions on PlayStation trophies. Once you are comfortable with the game's mechanics and difficulty, Sifu's trophies are manageable. For the most part, you must beat the game and find every secret in every stage. You also have miscellaneous tasks that focus on your score per level, your experience points, and combat-specific situations. The hardest task would ask you to finish the game while being 25 years old or younger. Thankfully, you can replay levels over and over until you're comfortable enough with your age prior to advancing to the next level. If you can earn that trophy, then the platinum reward will be yours in no time. When should you pick it up? The current asking price for Sifu is $40, and I find it to be a bit excessive for the amount of content that is on display right now. The developers have plans to include additional content with time, but $40 for a game that you can beat in 2 hours, with practice of course, is a stretch. I absolutely think that you should play Sifu, but I would wait until it is on sale for $20 or $25 at most. In the end, Sifu is not only one of the best video games of 2022, but also one of the best indie games ever made. The combat system can serve as the blueprint for hand-to-hand fighting games down the road. The art style is crisp. The animations are spectacular. I've had a good hunch about Sifu since its reveal, and I'm incredibly happy that I'm not disappointed. Several games may come out this year that would top it on my inevitable top 10 games of 2022 video, but you can bet $1 that Sifu will absolutely find a place on that video in the near future. I will give Sifu from 2022 a 10 out of 10. Well folks, that's the end of the video. Thank you very much for checking it out. What are your thoughts on Sifu? Did you like it? Why or why not? Please let me know your thoughts in the comment section below. Till next time, have a great day or evening wherever you are. My name is Yes, and I will see you guys in the next video. Bye bye.